Let's take a moment to review the options that are on each one of these task cards. If you wanted to update a task, we can click into the name of that task. When it turns purple, we're editing it. When we make our changes and press enter on our keyboard and it goes from purple to white, that means that task has been updated and that name will save. We have the ability to change the color of the task if we need to. We can also select all tasks, select change if we need to update the colors or the task roles or the task tags, even the contingency dates for all of these tasks. Here, if I select color, you'll see the different color options that we have currently. On this opposite hand side, here on the right-hand side, we've got our ability to exclude the task. If it is a light gray color like it is right now, the task will not be excluded. If you select that option and it turns dark gray, this means that this task is going to be excluded. What that means is that this task is not going to show up in our client portal or our agent portal. Next to that, we have the ability to add on notes. If I go ahead and click onto this notes and I add in a test and I say add, you can see here that it's going to say the time that we added that on, the date, and who it was created by. We'll also see now that this says 1, saying that there's 1 note added to this particular task. To remove it, we'll just go ahead and click on that trash can icon and say, yes, we want to delete the note. Once that note's been deleted, it is removed completely, so it's going to go back to 0. Next to that, we have our little pinned icon. When it turns purple, that means I've said that this task needs to get pinned to the top of my task list. When it comes onto my properties, it's also going to be showed at the very top of that task list on a property. We have the ability to add on a critical button as well if we want to mark this task as critical. You can use these buttons interchangeably, just kind of depends on your use case for them. Next to that, we have our 3-line icon. This here is going to be an internal description or internal instructions. This is a great place to add in any hyperlinks that you might need to share. I always suggest updating open current link in to new window. That way, when someone uses or clicks on that hyperlink, it opens up a new tab versus opening up in the current window. Like I said, this is a great place for links, instructions if you need them. You can use this for a number of different areas. Think of this as just a text area where you can add in instructions. Next, we have our date. If I select that little calendar icon, we're going to see the options to have it none, which means this is going to be an unscheduled task. It doesn't have a date associated with it. We can select property date if we need to schedule this particular task. Let's say it needs to be 3, time frame can be business days, calendar day skipping weekend. When it needs to be done, before or after a certain date, we'll go ahead and say after. And then for our date option, this is going to show us all the date options that we have currently available in our account. Let's go ahead and say it's based off of the contract date. So the way this one works right now is this task is going to be scheduled 3 business days after contract acceptance. You can also factor in your weekend roll, federal holiday roll, or if you want to count or skip the federal holidays as well. Most of these settings here are set usually on the property and then trickle down into the different tasks that you have. But if you have a task that you're like, no, I for sure need this to roll back, I need to complete this before the weekend on that Friday, you can set that up here if you need to. We'll go ahead and scroll down to the bottom. If we select update, it's going to update that task. If we say close, it's not going to save on those details. Below is an example of what that date looks like when it is saved. So this one says due same day as the intake date. If I click on that calendar icon, you're going to see those same rules set up here. So instead of the time frame being business days, we have same day as selected. It's going to be on that intake date. And in this case, it's going to roll back, and count those federal holidays. Just in case a federal holiday lands on a Friday, we want to roll it to that Thursday. Scrolling down, you can see there's other options here. Like we've got this little 4 and this little trigger icon here, similar to how we have a trigger icon here on this first task. This trigger icon is going to be showing you the task triggers that you can build out. If you see something with a red lightning bolt next to it, that means that it already has triggers built out on it. When you're going through and you're reviewing the tasks that you already have in your account, keep in mind that anything with a red lightning bolt is going to do an action. It's going to have something that's associated with it. It's either going to send out an email, send out a text message. It could apply a task template or a field section or any other kind of templates that you might need to apply to that particular property. In this case, this task is called send opening emails. So if I click on this little trigger icon, here I'm going to see an intro email to parties. Looks like a task template comes on, and then these are my 2 intro emails that go out as well. One goes to the closing parties, one goes to the buyer. If I wanted to review these particular triggers, I can click on the little email icon here, and it's going to pull open a screen like this on the right-hand side. From here, I can select that email template. It's going to warn me that I'm editing the master email template for my entire organization. I can say yes, and that's going to open up that email template for us on that right-hand side. Now I can preview the emails. I can see who it's sending to, CCing, BCCing. I can see the title of that particular email or the subject line. And I can also see the verbiage within that email in case I need to update it or add in more information. Below, I can also add on my property files if I want to, or I can attach through file storage or even upload. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see the ability to apply a template in case you need to swap this template out for a different one. I'll go ahead and scroll up to the top. We'll say close. We'll go ahead and close out of this trigger area. Let's really quickly review how to add a trigger onto one. So let's say, for example, we've got this Follow Up Boss webhooks test. Let's say we wanted to add another trigger onto here. If we don't see that red lightning bolt, that means it doesn't have any active triggers. So here we're going to click on that gray lightning bolt. Here we'll see that screen that we saw before, but now this one has no triggers. We can select either Apply Template if you have trigger templates already built out for your tasks. You can also select Add Trigger, and here you can build out that trigger per task. So I can go ahead and say I want it when I complete this task, I want to do what? Do I want to send an email, a text message, add or remove a template or multiple templates, add or remove a field section or one field? What is the next step for this particular trigger? We'll go ahead and say it's an email and say add. Once it prompts us from here, it's going to ask us to apply a template. I can say apply template, select my email template, or I can just write in my email template here. I always suggest having an email template applied if you're going to be using that email in multiple different areas. The reason I say this is that if we have an email template applied, we know that if we need to make a change to that particular email template, we're changing it for our entire organization versus just typing in the verbiage here and it only updates it for that particular task. When that is applied to a property, if it's not associated with an email template, if you make any updates to this task, it's only going to be updated for all of those properties moving forward and won't retroactively update any of the previously applied task templates. So email templates are the way to go. We'll go ahead and say close. From here, we can turn on this trigger. We can click on our trigger options. Again, depending on what plan you're on will depend on what options you see from here. If you're on that scale account, you're going to have the option to add in a condition, but most everyone else will have to work on their tasks in a different way. Here, trigger will be queued. Most, if not all of the triggers within your account right now will be queued. What this means is that this task trigger is going to send up to the health bar where you'll be able to review that email or that particular trigger before it gets applied or before it sends out any communication. If we flip this switch from green to red, it's going to change that trigger and say that this email needs to go out automatically. While you're starting off with your customization journey, I always suggest keeping it to trigger will be queued until you really start to trust how your emails are populating, making sure that it's going to the correct party members, making sure that the information is being pulled onto there correctly. I say stay with this for now.